Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream here. Um, so today, what we're going to talk about is actually my coaching experience and how I started coaching. This was actually a recommendation or a wish, in a sense, that I got from one of my subscribers, Declan67, young coach from Scotland. And yeah, so I would definitely be happy. I'm definitely happy to be sharing this with you guys, my experience and how it started. So if we go back to, I guess, 2000, 2004, back before, I was in the years that I was good. I would just felt very and uh, that because um, too I didn't put too much thought into it. It was with soccer coach, Coach Lomelli. He was teaching math. Actually, he was teaching math and also the idea of I felt like that was and to as I progressed through kind of seemed to be the thought that I had. I was in high school soccer. But then a student athlete, so to speak, for the university. But I was a student, and I was definitely still an athlete. Still playing soccer. I was, and it's a team of Portuguese guys. Yeah, it's a Portuguese community there in Artesia, and so I started playing with them. And right. So I'm in university now, and I don't really have a right. I go into the university actually decided, and just because actually I had heard from a friend that he applied as a history major, and he got accepted as a history major, and then in his program changed majors. Decided, and I got accepted to the University of Long Beach. Um, so I went into the university as undecided, and then during like the orientation time, I told him that I actually wanted to get into a math major. So then I ended up switching from undecided to being a math major, and I started. And then a couple years into the program, I realized that I wanted to teach English. I'm sorry, math, and coach soccer. And then at one point, in university, it just felt like I actually wanted to coach more than I wanted to teach, right? So that kind of led me into changing my major from math to kinesiology 2.5 years later or after the fact. So 2.5 years after, I went into university, I decided you know, to go straight into kinesiology so that I can only teach. So I don't have to teach. I'm sorry. So I don't have to teach, but I could only so that I coach only and essentially make a living out of just coaching, right? Anyways, so that's kind of how it went into like the more professional aspect as to my coaching career, so to speak. But back in 2000, what was it? 2009. It was in 2009. It was the end of my first year of university, and it was the summer of 2009. I'm back home. I'm back in my hometown, and at the time, my one of my uncles was coaching a women's team, and he asked me one day, "Hey, my nickname is Pollo." He's like, "Hey, Pollo, do you have time to coach my team?" Right? He was coaching my women's team. My sisters were actually in the team, and at the time it was a women's team, but there was a lot of high school girls that were playing for my uncle's team. So I told him, I was like, yeah, I would love to, I would love to do that and try that. And that was actually like my first experience as a coach, I would say, back in 2000, summer of 2009. And we had a few weeks of training, and I enjoyed it so much. It was crazy. Like it just felt so natural, right? I didn't even know if I was doing the right thing, but I felt like the players were learning something, or learning something new. I felt that they were a little bit better, them asking questions, and me sort of, at the time I was a little bit more kind of direct with what I wanted. I was still very new to coaching, so I didn't know too much about the strategies and ways to communicate. It was just kind of more like, we're gonna do this. It actually was more like drills more than anything. But yeah, but again, it felt very natural for me. And so that's kind of around the time where I decided that I wanted to be less teacher, more coach. But at the time, I still hadn't changed my major. I actually, like I said, I changed my major, uh, you know 2.5 years after I started university. And I started university August 2008, so it was about 2010 ish. In 2010, beginning maybe 2011, was when I changed my major and started with my kinesiology program. So then in 2011, uh, so anyways, yeah, 2009 to 2011 is a kind of a big gap. But in between, I'm just playing soccer, with again the thought of, okay, I'm going to be a soccer coach. And yeah, and then I finally decided, like, okay, well, if I want to get into this coaching thing, then I need to start coaching. But I didn't feel like I had enough knowledge, at the time. I didn't feel like I had enough for me to be, to coach my own team and feel like I can deliver, something, beneficial, right? And not that I wasn't good enough. I felt like there were certain qualities just of my personality that, or just characteristics about me that I felt probably could have done a good job coaching, right? At least I had that feeling. But more than anything, that was my thought. Like, okay, I don't really want my own team, but I want to help some teams out, right? And then I tried to think about who I wanted to coach. I was like, I wonder what would be interesting to me. And at the time, I felt that somewhere, between ages 10 to 14, youth boys, that's kind of what I wanted to coach. And so at the time, and it's still going on, but California State University Long Beach had a women's college team. There wasn't a men's college team, but there was a women's college team. And at the time, the coach, Coach Mauricio, he was actually also the director of a club, and it was called Beach Football Club at the time. So basically, they trained, or the teams from Beach Football Club trained at the university. So it was very easy for me, since I'm already at university, to just go to the fields. George Allen Field, that's the name of the field, um, back in Long Beach. And so I went there, and I was like, all right, well, this is the age group that I'm looking for. So I'll just check out the options, and just see if I can help out. So then I'm walking around, and I see a group that I like, and that I felt was exactly what I wanted to work with. It was a Youth 11 boys team, and year 99. And then I decided, I was like, okay, well, let me ask the coach and see if he could use some help. And so I approached the coach, and I tried to approach at a time where it was kind of like a downtime, because I saw that the session was already going on. So I felt like interfering would have been inappropriate. So I was watching the coach, and then I felt like, okay, this is a time. I don't know if it was like a water break, or the players were kind of stretching or something. I don't exactly remember, but I remember it was a downtime. I went to the coach, and I quickly just asked him, like, hey, I would like to help you, and I want to improve as a coach. Could I help you? And then the coach said yes, and the coach ended up becoming my coaching mentor, if you will, Coach Adriano. And so I worked with Coach Adriano and Beach Football Club for a couple years. Um, Actually, longer. It was actually longer. It was just I would say a couple years, because so it was 2011, 2012 that I'm helping Beach Football Club, and then at the August, I think it was August 2012, was when I decided that I wanted to try coaching, on have my own team to coach. So I learned so much. I learned a ridiculous amount with Coach Adriano, and he definitely helped me a lot. And so I got a lot of confidence through working with him. At least with the sport, I had a different perspective. I had the ideas that I grew up with, and then culturally watching the football that I watched. So what I watched growing up was Mexican soccer. My favorite soccer team was Chivas from Guadalajara, and that's really only been my only favorite team, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, that was because that's really all we could watch back in the day. Um, Now I think in the United States you can watch every European league, Mexican league, uh, the American league, so MLS, and I think it's all possible now. But at the time when I was younger, early '90s to early 2000s, it was very difficult to watch European football. You had to have like a special dish connection or something like that. Direct TV, I think it was called at the time. Um, but that was the way to watch European football. So, anyways, I worked with him for 2 years, and then I was trying to figure out where to be. So it was August 2012 that I decided to try to coach, on my own. And so I did what I think it was it was apprenticeship. Actually, I started looking for somewhere to coach, and I found an apprenticeship with a team from Fullerton, or a club from Fullerton. And so I did that for a while. um or maybe perhaps I have my timing off. No, it was the apprenticeship. So I was working with Fullerton, and then whenever I had the opportunity to coach with Coach Adriano, I would also help there as well. But this apprenticeship was Fullerton. Um, Fullerton was a really it was a good club, uh, very competitive club. So I connected with the director of coaches, and he said, okay, yeah, you can help out this group first, and then we can see the development and see how you do, and then you can probably help out with these other teams. So then I did that. I did that for a while, and at the end, I wrote about it. So it was an apprenticeship because I had to really deliver a lot of information to the director of coaches, and then at the same time I used that and took advantage of this apprenticeship as a um, one of the courses that I had to take for university. Um, simultaneously, meanwhile, I should say, I'm in my kinesiology major now, right? So then I'm doing these things, and anyways, so I get to do apprenticeship there, but it also counts as a class for university. So it was kind of like a win-win situation there. And again, on top of that, I'm still, whenever I can, helping Coach Adriano. So then, yeah, that was part of it. My experience, and then in 2013, I did a study abroad. So then I studied in Cardiff, Wales. I was there for for 4 months studying, and then after that, I got to learn a little bit. Actually, not after that, but during this time, I got to learn about the culture there. And so living in the UK, I got a different perspective of what football was. Um, so in America, or at least in California, I mean, I don't know if things have changed since then, but I doubt it because of facilities. So in the US, if you play pretty much anywhere, club, adult league, um, probably anything that's not like college or professional, you are you show up to your game, and you show up already kind of dressed, and you know what I mean, like and then after your game, you just you leave, right? It's kind of how the culture is. There's no facilities where you go in, you meet with your team. You have like maybe a tactic board, or like a locker room just for the team, a locker room for the ref, a locker room for the other team. It's kind of like you show up dressed, whatever, you play, and then you take off your cleats at the end, after the game, shin guard, socks, and then you go home, right? And you shower at home. That's kind of the situation that I grew up with. So in the UK, it was a little different. I got to learn a little bit about the locker room culture. So, that was something that was I was at first, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, but it was odd, right? I mean, after the game, the teammates, we were like talking about the game, whatever, and dudes are getting undressing, right, and they're having a conversation with you, and that was new to me, right? Now it's normal, right? Because here, so currently I live in Germany, and we'll get a little bit to about Germany in a bit. But yeah, now the culture here is similar. I mean, it's the same in that sense, is that you show up and you have a locker room, right? So then you do your thing, you play whatever, you shower after, and then you go home, right? So that's kind of the culture here. But coming from the States, that was different for me. But I thought it was really cool, right? Because before the game, um, you can really have your own space, your own private area where you talk to your team, and so I knew that's the kind of environment that I wanted to coach in, right? That was just boom, kind of learning from that situation. And then just football's different. Football was different in Cardiff or in the UK versus in the US. Um, Very direct, right? Long aerial, long aerial passes, and just the fields are different. Then you play under different weather conditions, because in Southern California, I mean, you get a little bit of rain, and the whole park is closed. And in Cardiff, I think we had one time we had I think it was like heavy rain that became hailstones, and we still played, right? I was like, oh shit, like this is gonna get canceled, but no way, man. Like you you just put on some gloves, and long sleeve under, and you have to play. So that was enriching to my experience, and that was in 2013. Um, so then after my study abroad, I go back to the US to finish my last year of university, and it's again the next year, so the next fall. It's high school season, and I decide that I would like to get into high school coaching. So if you recall earlier, that was actually one of the goals that I had in my life, was to teach and to coach high school soccer. So that was kind of like the vision that I had at the time, and I figured, okay, well, why not try it? And I started coaching Torrance High School, North Torrance, and that I coached a girls JV team, and yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that. I like the amount. of coaching that you get, right? Because you get to work with your players literally like 5 days out of the week, so that some having that is was very special, right? Because um you know like you can teach something every day, right? And and that was kind of like a different experience for me, because even coaching with Coach Adriano with Beach Football Club, I mean, we trained twice a week and one game on the weekend. Sometimes we had activities in between, things like futsal, or just street play, optional, right? But there weren't, like these, in a sense, required, I guess, like training days, where you got to see each other 5 days, or the whole team is there 5 days out of the week. Like, that was just new, right? But it was intense because there was a lot of games. I always felt like at the beginning of the season, games were a little bit more separated, and coaching the JV team, you play also less games, a little bit less than varsity. Um, Not by much, but still a few games less. So that even that those few games make a difference with spacing between games. But it was a cool experience. That I felt like the team developed and improved. Um, so that was at the end of 2013. The season ended 2014, and yeah, I think we ended on a definitely on a good note. Um, with that JV team. So one thing that almost slipped my mind was my licensing. So my licensing experience actually started in 2000, at the end of 2011, more or less, the end of 2011. So while I was coaching with Coach Adriano, he suggested that, or he recommended that, I should consider getting into the licenses, so that if ever he is not available to coach, that I can be there at the games, and represent the team as the coach if he is not there as the coach, right? So then I do my license. It was the summer of 2011. After I had already been coaching for a few months, was when I applied for my. It was the D license, the USSF D license. I did that license in English, and the reason I say that is because in Southern California, it's offered in English and Spanish, and Spanish I could have done as well. One of my buddies actually decided to do it in Spanish, and I felt like those are two different experiences. Um, Probably a little bit more challenging, just because, I mean, language wise, I grew up with Spanish, but education wise, everything was in English. So that would have been a different challenge. But anyways, I did that. I did that in English. So then, all right. So then we go back. I jump back to 2014. Um, so in 2014, I graduated. So at the end, after my JV coaching experience, I focused going to helping Adriano out, and coaching the beach football club with him, and just kind of focused there. And and I didn't really want to start anything new, because I was going to move to Germany. At the end of 2014. So the reason I was going to move to Germany was because my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife, was actually born and raised in Germany, and at the time she had started her master's in 2014, at the end of 2013. So it was going to be a couple of years before she finished. So then, once I finished my university in 2014, it was kind of the decision of whether I should stay in the US and see how we would manage as a couple, or try jumping over the pond, and trying to see if it'll work in Germany for me. So then, for me, it was actually, a good decision. I felt, me being that I wanted to be a soccer coach, I felt that, coming to Germany would have also been a positive experience, at least in that sense. And at the time, I felt that I would come to Germany, be with my girlfriend. Once she finished university, we would be back in the U.S. And uh, didn't happen that way. So we stayed here. She finished her university, and at the in between, I'm doing my coaching licenses, and that's kind of the reason why, a big reason why, I've been very pleased with kind of staying, and would like to stay, is essentially, that the licensing, I would like to do that here in Germany. Um, and then if there's any opportunities to go to the US later, then boom, we can do that. But shout out to my wife. She's been very supportive through all this, at least through this experience of me being a coach. And I think that's something that's important as well, for any coaches, that you have, that you have that backing, that you have that support, that backbone to really fall back on. Because you spend a lot of time away, especially as you level up in coaching. Just be ready to spend a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of energy into your team. um, and you're gonna have to learn how to balance, your team, your personal life, and work, if you have work as well, right? Unless coaching is your work. But that's something to be aware of, and something that needs to definitely be addressed. I think for me, sharing this experience with you, is that I think it's been very helpful for me to know that I have someone that has been supporting me for the time that I've been, trying to do this coaching stuff, right? Good. So then, 2000, at the end of 2014, I decided to move to Germany. So after I finished university, I stayed at the city where I studied, and for a couple months. And then after that, I went back home to live with my parents, so that I can save some money, and also just work and hustle up until the point where I was gonna leave. So then I'm working, and then save up some money, and then I came to Germany. And in Germany, the first thing that I wanted to do, so I knew that I wanted to get into coaching, but it wasn't going to be so easy, right, for me to be here and then be like, all right, I'm going to start coaching. So I knew that the way to start was to start playing. And I mean, at the time, I'm 24 years old, and so playing was still a big part of my life, um, and still is, right? I still want to play a lot. Um, but now I'm just coaching. So then, 2015, I decided to contact this Spanish team. Contacted them, started playing there. They were playing at a very low level, but whatever. I got introduced to the the football playing culture. And then I went to a different team at the end of the season, that was playing in the fifth tier. And then after that, I went down one tier, played in the sixth tier, with another team. And then with this team, SG letter 05, SG letter 05, um, they they were a very supportive club, and I wanted to get into coaching, so I asked. So then I started coaching, or co-coaching, I guess you can say. I was coaching with another coach, in under 12 boys. So an under 12 youth team. Um, so I coached there. I only coached for a small amount of time. Um, but it was a good experience, because I coached at the end of the outdoor season, and then I coached my own team during the winter, during the winter season, which was a futsal. We played futsal, and then after the futsal season, the teams get back together. But I wanted to get into my own team, right? I didn't want to share a team just because I wanted to present my own ideas. So then I had an interview with a women's club, and I told them my ideas. I told them what I wanted, and then I started coaching there. Um, and prior to that, I had finished my C license in English. I'm sorry, in German. Um, so then I had my C license when when I had this interview. I had already had my C license, so that was something that I can use to kind of promote myself a little bit more, and to market myself a little bit more and make myself a little more attractive. But I think the most important thing was, I was kind of straightforward with what I was trying to do, what I was into. And I also made a video actually about coaching interviews, and I talk about how you should treat an interview like a discussion. And that's what I did, right? That's what I did during this time that I'm communicating with the club. And so yeah, so I started coaching there. I actually just wanted to help out the youth teams. Like, I actually told them, like, yeah, I just want to help out with the youth teams, and help in any way that I can. And turned out that they were looking for a head coach for their women's team, for their first team. And at that time, I actually prepared for that mentally. Like, going into this interview, I thought, okay, well, what are all the possibilities? Because I knew that they only had four teams. They had a first team, a second team, and two youth teams. So I wanted to help out the two youth teams, but I also made space for the possibility of coaching the women's team, right? So I had that discussion with myself just so that I wouldn't be blindsided with something unexpected. And that's what happened. It was crazy because that was actually the least likely thing that I had possible in my head, right? But that's what happened. I said yes, and I coached there for a year and 3-4 months. So the team, after a year and 3-4 months, released me. And I made a video about that. I'm not going to get into that too much, but it was a learning experience for me. The coaching itself was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. I definitely benefited from that. The team also sponsored a percentage of my B license. So shout out to FFC for that. They really came through in that situation. So then during this time, actually in March, I get my B license, and that's actually the same month that I got released. Actually, it was a day after, right? I got my B license on a Monday, and then on Tuesday I get released. So that happened. Whatever. It was a learning experience. I was happy that I went through such experience, because it actually required more of me to think, okay, well, what happened? How can I prevent this from happening in the future, right? And the thing that kind of stood out the most was to really, like, experience the club, and when I have my interview, to again, like I said earlier, to make it into like a discussion, and eventually a conversation about football, and that's kind of what I did. So after that, I took some time. I didn't really want to coach. I didn't want to rush into, like, oh, I need to find the team right now. Boom, 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 whatever. I had just got my license. I was happy, doing that, and that's whatever. Like, that was my coaching situation there. And I was coaching as well, because I was coaching for Hanover 96 Football School. which was something that started back in 2012. I didn't really mention that, but it was just I sent out an email and I was like, hey, I want to start coaching, boom, 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 whatever. They were like, oh, you speak English? Maybe we can find something for you. And then so then there's like these football clubs. There's actually all sorts of clubs for schools in Germany, and football is one of them. And so then I got asked from the football school, the Hanover 96 football school, to participate in some of these, and I did, and I helped out. So during the time that I got released, I was still participating in that. So I was still coaching. I think it was twice a week. Normally, I would have done it once a week because of my coaching situation. But once I got released, I was like, boom, I could do two, possibly even three, right? But that was that was a separate experience. And there I coached a under the under 14 team. And yeah, so I was still doing that. And so now we get closer to now, my coaching situation now. So currently I'm coaching or I'll be starting with an under 19 team. So basically, on Sunday I sent out the 3-week pre-fitness program, and then in 3 weeks we get started, right? So I got to meet the team. I had the interview. I made it into discussion. We had a conversation about football, about the future, about our visions, and it worked out. Connected, and now I'm ready for that experience. But if there's anything that you guys can pick up from my experience, is that I tried to not have gaps without either coaching or playing, right? Especially if you're young, man, you should just play, like really just play. And then if you can get some coaching licenses for youth coaches, do that. You know what I mean? Like, but play and help coaches out and learn, man. Like that's really what you guys, if you're watching this or you're going to watch this, and you're trying to be a coach, and you want to be a coach, or you're trying to be a coach, or you're trying to get into coaching, whatever, like just like get involved with the game, watch the game, and experience it, go through different experiences. Like don't be scared to go through a bad experience. Like you learn a lot. And I can definitely vouch that some experiences are better than others, but at the end you can learn from all of them. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. 41 minutes in. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my experience and my conversation with you guys about my experience. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys again. Peace.